We're scientists, engineers. We're pragmatists and producers. At ExxonMobil, it's who we are. So we have a plan to help address climate change. We're increasing the efficiency of our operations while developing low-carbon technologies that can be deployed at scale. With that and more, we expect to reduce our absolute upstream greenhouse gas emissions by an estimated 30% by 2025. It's a plan we're committed to. In fact, we've already begun. Learn more at exxonmobil.com/solutions.
This episode is brought to you by IMDb TV. Reluctant spy Alex Rider wanted nothing more than to return to ordinary, mundane student life. But when a dangerous figure from his past resurfaces, he has no choice but to re-enter the world of mystery and danger. Stream Alex Rider Season 2 for free on Fire TV, Roku, and anywhere Prime Video is available. IMDb TV. Always entertaining, always free.
This is My Guys in the Desert with Stormy Bonantoni on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right. Getting things started here on a Tuesday. My Guys in the Desert. Stormy Bonantoni here with you for the next hour. Live from Las Vegas at our VSiN studio coming out of Circus Sportsbook. We've got a fun show. Wrapped up Week 11 Monday Night Football yesterday. Giants gonna giant. But we got a jam-packed show talking NFL, college football, college hoops, NBA. The list goes on with a little help from my guys and my girl, Ariel Epstein of Yahoo Sportsbook's going to join us, as well as Johnny Avello of DraftKings. He's going to give us the book's perspective. And VSiN's own Adam Kramer talking rivalry week. Lots of games to get into on the college football slate all week long. I am pumped. Plus, it's Hot Take Tuesday. So, you know, we've got our fire burning on the dance floor. Hot takes to get into. And speaking of fire, as we jump into our top 5 stories today as well, is Matt Nagy going to be fired or is he not? Let's dive into this story a little bit here because Mark Conkle, a very reputable reporter from the Chicago area, albeit he doesn't typically cover the Chicago Bears, reported this morning he had information from a top source that the Bears told Nagy Monday he would be fired after the game Thursday with the Lions. Bears -3 road favorites in Detroit, by the way. But Nagy then, in his regularly scheduled press conference this morning, refuted the report, saying it's not accurate. He's not spoken to the team owner, president, or GM Ryan Pace this week. They typically have regularly scheduled meetings, but did not have them this week because it's already a short week with the Thursday game preparations. And, I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised if Nagy did get let go, although the Bears never in their 101-year franchise history have fired a coach mid-season. It's 2021, so we know anything can happen. Numerous reports recently have acknowledged that players are out on Nagy. I saw one quote that he lost the locker room last season, but now it's gone. So interesting things. We've obviously heard the fire Nagy chants and yada, yada, yada. But we'll see what ends up happening after Thursday, if this comes to fruition or if he was right in his presser. Number 2 on the list, the majority of that press conference did focus on the Nagy situation. He did also confirm that Andy Dalton will get the start on Thursday at quarterback as Justin Fields continues to nurse a bruised rib after the Sunday third quarter incident against the Ravens. It's also likely on the other end, Jared Goff will get the start. Head coach Dan Campbell said today they're leaning toward Goff getting the start, coming back from an oblique injury himself that kept him out this past Sunday. And I never thought I'd say this, but thank goodness it appears Dan Campbell listened to my segment yesterday, start him or sit him, with regards to Tim Boyle, because I think we all can agree, poor guy, he ain't it. We talked about Matt Nagy's firing, but there was a confirmed coaching change as well. But with regards to the New York Giants, as offensive coordinator Jason Garrett is confirmed out in New York. Head coach Joe Judge did make some pretty telling comments after the game last night against the Buccaneers as they lost 30-10, saying that they need to put the players in better positions to succeed, and would not comment at the time on whether or not they would keep Garrett. Apparently, we know why now. Freddie Kitchens is expected to take over the offensive play calling if he does take over as OC, be his second time serving an interim role of that nature. In 2018, we remember he helped the Browns offense in both points and yards down the stretch. The team went 5-3 with him calling plays. More on the Monday night game, though. Bucks back in the cover column. They are 5-0 straight up at home this year, 4-1 against the spread as favorites, and a double-digit line that they dominated with a 20-point win. Some notable prop bets that cashed. Tom Brady yards passing and rush yards over. Don't see that every day. He turned the wheels on for that 10-yard scamper. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, was also sacked twice. Godwin got the anytime touchdown at plus 110. If you got the first touchdown, 8-1. Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, and Rob Gronkowski all over their receiving yards totals as well. Moving our attention to the NBA, LeBron James is going to be out tonight against the Knicks, serving his first ever suspension in his storied 19-year NBA career. Missing time for what the NBA called recklessly hitting Pistons player Isaiah Stewart in the face after boxing out after a free throw and, quote, initiating an on-court altercation. Lakers now getting 7 in MSG. Also notable in that game, Anthony Davis and Derrick Rose, both game-time decisions. Meanwhile, for Isaiah Stewart, he's going to get 2 games for escalating the situation and aggressively pursuing James. The Lakers and Pistons meet again Sunday in LA, and both James and Stewart will be eligible to play. So we'll see. Hopefully not, but if any more extracurricular activities take place. Number 5 on our list here, 5 and final, maybe the most anticipated college hoops regular season game of the season is tonight at T-Mobile Arena, right here where I'm broadcasting from in Las Vegas, Nevada, as the number 1 ranked team in the country, Gonzaga Bulldogs, takes on the number 2 UCLA Bruins, a rematch from last year's Final Four. We all remember when Jalen Suggs had that epic half-court heave that sent the Zags to the national championship. We won't talk about when they lost the national championship. Anyways, Bulldogs -7 on DraftKings. Total there around 155, 156. Both teams enter this game 5-0 with top 5 wins under their belt. Gonzaga beat number 5 Texas, UCLA, number 4 Villanova at the time, and both teams are 3-2 against the spread to start the early year. I just hate that we have to have it so early. Oh, I would love to see this game down the stretch leading up to the big dance. All right, time now for everybody's favorite segment. Tell me why. Tell me why, where we're taking a look at just a few things that are confusing me today as we start the show, starting with tell me why Jonathan Taylor is ahead of Cooper Kupp on the MVP odds board, but still behind him for Offensive Player of the Year. One of these things is not like the other, folks. But listen, if Taylor stays healthy, he'll certainly win the rushing title, right? He's fresh off becoming the first Colts player in history to score 5 touchdowns in a game, had 204 yards in that dominant upset over the Bills. And with regards to Kupp, he now leads the Rams wide receiver by 308 yards from scrimmage now. So to me, I don't really understand why, if he's ahead of him in the MVP candidates, why he would be behind him in Offensive Player of the Year. And I know last week we talked about Kupp and how, his stats were undeniable, which they are. Him and Matt Stafford have had an incredible connection throughout the course of this year. But the way that Jonathan Taylor has put this team on his back, time in and time out, come on, let's get the guy some love. Which actually, Taylor this year, theoretically, he should put up around 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, which brings me to my next point here. Tell me why. Tell me why we give so much love to the quarterbacks for MVP and not any other positions or players. It doesn't make any sense to me because, speaking to Jonathan Taylor specifically, since 1993, no non-quarterback has won MVP without a 2,000-yard season or setting an NFL touchdown record. That's crazy. And even if Taylor does it, I don't think that he would get it. He currently has 9 quarterbacks ahead of him on the odds board, as you see it there. Tom Brady, understandably, remains the favorite, but Josh Allen still sitting at the second shortest odds at plus 600. Baffling to me he's still so high on the board, especially after the last 3 weeks, because even with that big win over the Jets, he has more picks than touchdowns in that span, been sacked 7 times, but I digress. We're talking about running backs here. Derrick Henry, obviously out of the conversation due to his injury. He's going to be done for the rest of the regular season. Christian McCaffrey, someone who is in and out of the lineup with injuries repeatedly. Jonathan Taylor's the only running back that an offense really is built around right now that carries the load for a team. So, I don't know. Anyways, it bugs me. Other positions can still be more valuable. Tell me why. Tell me why, guys. I just found this out. Tell me why we aren't betting road dogs, short road dogs, every single week. Listen to the stat. 51-19 in the NFL. Road dogs of 7 points or less. And I I knew that they were clicking. Oh my gosh, who made this graphic, by the way? For those of you that are just listening over the radio or in podcast form, we need to shout out our girl Michelle for making the cutest little dog's big bark graphic and all the little baby golden retrievers or labs. I don't know what they are, but they're beautiful. Anyways, I got to tell you, this is a tremendous win rate. And I knew that the short road dogs were doing well. I did not know it was 51-19. And looking deeper into some of those numbers as well that have been paying out, which I'm sure our guy Josh Applebaum, our market insights expert, loves. Dogs in general, against the spread, 92-69-1. And road teams in general against the spread, 96-65-1. Usually we do a segment called Where My Dog's At, but it might need to be... Tell me why. Okay, tell me why early. Might need to be Where My Road Dog's At. That was what I was getting at. But still, tell me why the Saints are giving Taysom Hill incentives to make more money when he starts at quarterback when they have continued to choose to not play him at quarterback. In case you missed it, Hill got a new contract yesterday worth anywhere between $40 and $90 million. Big difference, obviously, but it's a hybrid contract dependent on the position he plays and only earns the top cash if he's the full-time starter and hits a passing benchmark number. But they're not playing him. And I'm not one to make comments on anybody's injuries because I'm somebody who complains about getting a hangnail or when my teeth are sore from my Invisalign. I'm out, coach. I just can't make it. I can't do it. But Taysom Hill dealing with his ankle injury, to me, if it's not something that if it gets worse would be season ending, you would want him in there, right? Like you would want this guy to play for you. Trevor Siemian's not working in the limited time that we've seen him. So I'm just saying, why are we doing it? Tell me why. Anyways, remember everybody that as Thanksgiving is approaching, that means Black Friday is approaching as well. And the VSiN Black Friday offer is here, right now. When you sign up for our $99 midseason football special, you also get a $20 credit to the VSiN store. Get all of our expert sports betting analysis, insights, data for the rest of the football season, plus $20 to buy VSiN sports betting hats, shirts, mugs, other gear. Hurry up, because this is a limited offer. So sign up now for the perfect sports betting holiday gift at vsin.com/subscribe. And we have some very, very hot takes coming up around the corner. One of them that actually makes me physically angry. I'm heating up. I'm red right now just thinking about what Steph has put together for us. Ariel Epstein also on the other side. Stay with us. This is My Guys in the Desert.
Caesars Sportsbook is the greatest sports betting app of all time, people. Why? Because Caesars makes everyone feel like an emperor. When you place your bets, win or lose, you can earn more with Caesars rewards. Dining, getaway, stays, so many perks, people. Caesars Sportsbook. Visit Caesars.com to see if sports betting is available where you live.
21 plus, 18 plus in D.C. Must be located in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Washington, D.C. Void where prohibited. Know when to stop before you start. Illinois, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, West Virginia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, or West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Gambling problem? Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Colorado, D.C., Nevada, call 1-800-522-4700. Iowa, call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Louisiana, call 877-770-STOP. Michigan, call 1-800-270-7117. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Tennessee, call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. Virginia, call 1-888-532-3500. Copyright 2021 Caesars Entertainment.
This episode is brought to you by Volvo. Welcome to Conversations from the Future.
See that building? It used to be a gas station.
A gas station?
Yeah, that's where we used to fill up our cars with gas before they became electric. Now, we charge our cars at home, just like our phones.
Cool. Are we there yet?
Some things about driving never change.
Visit volvocars.com/US to drive the conversation forward with the Volvo XC40 Recharge.
This episode is brought to you by Rum Chata. You know that saying, you can't spell routine without rut? Okay, that's totally not a saying, but it should be. Because no one ever said, wow, I can't wait for the same old, same old. It's time to make the same old a little less old. So, let's start a mutiny against monotony and replace the usual with the unusual. Because choosing the unusual leads to an unusual amount of fun. It can turn a typical Thursday night into what a night! So, adios usual drink. Tonight calls for an alluring blend of Caribbean rum, cream, and other delicious flavors. Tonight calls for rum chata. Rum chata. Have your unusual. Produced and bottled by Agave Local Brands, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, all rights reserved. Caribbean rum with real dairy cream, natural and artificial flavors. 13.75% alcohol by volume. To find out more, visit rumchata.com.
You're listening to My Guys in the Desert with Stormy Bonantoni on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back, everybody. This segment of My Guys in the Desert brought to you by Zyn Nicotine Pouches, a fresh way to enjoy nicotine without all the baggage of cigarettes, dip, or vape. No more smelling like an ashtray, no more spit cups, no batteries to charge, or leaky equipment to deal with either. Zyn Nicotine Pouches are a smoke-free, spit-free alternative that's available now in 10 varieties. So you got spearmint, wintergreen, citrus, plenty more. Plus, for your convenience, each variety comes in 2 strengths, so you can easily find the satisfaction level that works for you. Zyn, America's #1 nicotine pouch, is available now at over 100,000 locations nationwide, so it's never been easier to find your Zyn. Head on over to zyn.com/find to locate a store near you. That's zyn.com/FIND. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Back here on My Guys in the Desert, I don't know if you guys can hear the sound in the distance, but it's time for Hot Take Tuesday. We're sizzling up in here. So my producer, Stephanie, basically every week she gives me a sentence that I have to determine whether or not the take is hot and how hot the take may be. And today we're focusing on the Thanksgiving NFL slate. So her first take for me: Bears-Lions will actually be the most entertaining game. I don't think this is as hot as you think, because first of all, short spread, when there are 2 bad teams, typically could make for a pretty competitive game, relatively speaking. Plus, even off the field, lots of storylines to follow up here. We talked about it in our top 5, but the is he or isn't he going to be fired saga with Matt Nagy, Andy Dalton in at quarterback, Goff in at quarterback. Will he be okay with the oblique strain? I think there's lots of interesting stuff. We should actually take a shot for every time the word fired or some sort of a synonym phrase comes up with regards relieved of his duties or any sorts of questions about it. Let's do it. Let's see how it goes. Next one here. The NFL should stop giving the Lions and Cowboys automatic Thanksgiving games every year and mix it up. This is medium hot because some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. I personally vibe tradition. So even when the teams aren't good, I just expect to watch, Motor City Mayhem on Thanksgiving. It's just something that I enjoy. I think it's a cool thing. I like it. Like I said, I like tradition. Keeping it with the Cowboys, the boys will lose their 3rd straight Thanksgiving Day game. They lost in 2020, 41-16 to Washington, 2019, 26-15 to the Bills. I think this one's a little bit too high. Cowboys are going to do work on the Raiders. Spread 7.5 right now, total 51. Raiders are just a reeling team. I know Cowboys are dealing with some injuries, likely not to have CeeDee Lamb, which is a bummer for not only the Cowboys, but Stormy Bonantoni and her fantasy team as well. Last one here. Pumpkin pie is nasty. This one just upsets me so much. Definitely the most scorching hot take, but I thought that. But apparently I'm just dead wrong because my producer, Steph, says this. John, our other producer here, says this. And I think it's completely wrong. I think pumpkin pie should be a food group. I think it should be all that you really need on Thanksgiving anyways. Put all the whipped cream on it. Stick your face in it. I don't care. Pumpkin pie is a way of life. And if you disagree, there's something wrong with you, not with me. Time to welcome in our girl, Ariel Epstein, host and betting analyst over at Yahoo Sportsbook. Ariel, I got to get your opinion on this because I'm very frustrated with the people that I work with here at VSiN and their opinions on pumpkin pie. How do you feel?
I don't like pie. Apologies if I am on the wrong side of this.
I'm so emotional. No pie at all. So what's your go-to on Thanksgiving then?
Mashed potatoes and turkey. I hate going anywhere. I've been to a few Thanksgivings where they haven't given out plain mashed potatoes. People try to be way too fancy on these Thanksgivings. I'm not about fancy. Just give me the good stuff.
I'm with ya. Hearty is good, but I can't understand the discrimination that we have on this program today about pumpkin pie. I know that it's basic to like pumpkin flavored things, but I am all in. But I digress. Let's stick, though, with the Thanksgiving trend, but talk a little bit of football because that's what it's all about. Are there any plays that you particularly like when you look at the 3 games on Thursday?
I love how you say football is what it's all about, Stormy, because that's true. That's the best part of Thanksgiving, just nonstop football. The game that I'm actually looking at, well, the first one is the first game of the day. The Bears team total over 23, I like. Okay. Now, the Bears have been bad on Thanksgiving. That goes without saying. This team has continued to lose on Thanksgiving pretty much, I guess. Well, unless they face the Lions. So the Lions are terrible. And the last time that these two teams played, the Bears actually went over those 2 Thanksgivings. I like the Bears team total because the Bears won this first game at Soldier Field 24-14 this year. The Lions had the second worst run defense. That's exactly where Chicago attacked their last game with their running back David Montgomery rushing for over 100 yards. And Andy Dalton actually looked pretty good against the Ravens. He came in the second half after his quarterback got hurt. And he ends up throwing for over 200 yards. Now, it was 201 yards. The Lions don't have a good defense. Justin Fields only threw for 209 yards in their game against the Lions the last time out this year. And Andy Dalton did that in a half. So I'm going to take the team total over on the Bears.
Yeah, on a relatively even betting split on this game in general. And people just keep hating on the fact that these two teams are playing each other on Thanksgiving because it's a marquee day. There's only 3 games. I personally love it. I love a hot mess. So that's what we're going to wake up to on Thursday. I also see, though, that you have a play on Saints plus 5.5. Interesting game there, taking on the Bills, but hosting them at home, tough place to play.
Really tough place to play. Also, the Saints are honoring Drew Brees at halftime. That gets any quarterback and any team ready to win. Doesn't look likely for Alvin Kamara yet. The running back did not practice yesterday for the Saints. It's a short week. However, if it's tough for any team on a short week, it's the away team. Buffalo is coming off of a really rough loss. Also, the Saints are 3-0 on Turkey Day. When you've got a good head coach in Sean Payton, sometimes I don't care who's under center. It's all relative, of course. It's just that for such good head coaches, look at what they've been doing with quarterbacks that were essentially the backups preseason. Bill Belichick, Sean Payton. I just see this being way too much of a number to not take the Saints at home. This number's gone from 4.5 to 5.5, seeing some 6s. It's just getting too much, Stormy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky spot, though. The Bills have been so hard to read. They are hit and miss every week over the past 4 weeks. It's driving me nuts. Anything else, though, for Sunday maybe that you've identified as we move off of the Thanksgiving slate? A bunch of fun games coming up this weekend, but they're all pretty short spreads, it seems.
Yeah, and this one's kind of in that middle. It's that limbo spot of Patriots minus 5.5, seeing it go to minus 6. I'm going to a total, though. I like the under 44.5 in Patriots, Tennessee. The Titans are without 2 of their star players, their running back, Derrick Henry, and their wide receiver, A.J. Brown. The Patriots defense has been so good. They allowed the least points per game of any defense in football, just over 16 points per game. I'm taking the under 44.5 with the Patriots at home.
Ariel, I just got tweeted another hot take that I feel like you could give good perspective on because you're a big NBA reporter as well, that NBA Christmas is better than NFL Thanksgiving. I'm just personally like very worked up about this at all, but I think you might be with it. So what's your side on this take?
Nah, I love NFL Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Yes.
First of all, I'm Jewish, so I don't even really celebrate Christmas. I like to enjoy it for my friend's sake, and sometimes I have a friend who I'll go to their house for. I just would rather sit there all day. Like, while I'm anticipating Thanksgiving dinner, I'm watching football. It just makes Thanksgiving dinner come faster. It all really is relative. See, I don't celebrate Christmas, so I'm not really waiting for anything at night. If you celebrate Christmas, then the question really is, which meal is better in your family, Thanksgiving meal or Christmas meal? Then your day is going to be like, I enjoy watching NFL games while I'm anticipating my Thanksgiving dinner.
That is an excellent point. But just remember, everybody, save your turkey for after the afternoon game, so you don't want to fall asleep, get too tired during the day.
Or throw up on it.
Yeah. Oh, God, don't do that. Anything but that. No NBA on Thanksgiving, but there are a number of opportunities today and in the days leading up. 4 games in the NBA tonight. Lakers-Knicks tonight. LeBron obviously suspended for the first game in his career, a little bit different. Got Anthony Davis questionable with a non-COVID illness. Derrick Rose also questionable with a sore right ankle. But an interesting matchup here. Is there anything with Lakers-Knicks you like?
There's two props I really like. When LeBron's been out, which now we have a decent sample size, it's been, 10 games this year about that LeBron James has missed due to injury. Now this one is suspension. The first one, Talen Horton-Tucker. He has been so good when LeBron James isn't on the roster or isn't in the lineup. Without LeBron, 17, 28, and 25 points. I'm taking the over 15.5 points on Talen Horton-Tucker. I also love for the Lakers All-Star Russell Westbrook points, rebounds, and assists. Without LeBron this year, he's gone over this number in 7 out of 10 games. Plus, the Knicks ranked 20th in rebounds allowed to their opponents. Westbrook, he's going to grab those boards and probably go off when it comes to points.
Love it. Great stuff. We've also got Nuggets at Trailblazers. Blazers minus 6.5 currently. Anything interest you?
Yeah, I actually really like the Blazers minus 6.5. I have two people who I really trust in this business. Both live in Vegas. Ski Prophet, Hakeem Prophet is his name, and then Ralph Michaels. Both of them absolutely love this play. The Blazers have this crazy stat. Not only are they 6-2-1 as a home favorite, the crazy stat is also about 3 straight wins versus less rested teams off 4 straight losses, 10-1 against the spread.
And we love when our bets have support. Thank you, Ariel.
Thanks, Stormy.
That's Ariel Epstein of Yahoo Sportsbook. When we come back, Johnny Avello joins us, and we're going streaking, but it might not be what you think.
You're listening to My Guys in the Desert with Stormy Bonantoni on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking for more sports betting discussion around your local teams, BetRivers has you covered. BetRivers has launched a series of CityCasts designed to tackle sports betting from the local perspective. There are CityCasts in Chicago, Denver, Detroit, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, LA, and now New York. Subscribe to your local CityCast wherever you get your podcast. Would like everybody listening to know I'm getting support online about my pumpkin pie takes. And yes, Chin, Ariel Epstein did hurt my feelings when she did not agree that pie is a quintessential holiday treat. Anyways, time now for us to go streaking. And on Thanksgiving, no less. But like I told you last week, keep your dang clothes on. This is a family program. No one wants to see that. What we do want to see is which teams playing in the NFL on Thanksgiving have their streaks continue or end when it comes to betting trends. Starting with, the Cowboys have hit 4 straight unders. I think this is one that ends. The total in their game against the Raiders is 51. Raiders are going to get you 2 touchdowns. Only one game they had less than 13 points, even in their last 3 straight losses, recently averaging 22 points per game on the year. Meanwhile, Dallas has scored over 36 points on 5 occasions this year, 3rd in the NFL in points per game, lead the NFL in total yards. Raiders 26 in points allowed. Over. I like the over 51 in this one. Cowboys, sticking with the boys, 4-0 against the spread after their last 4 losses. Yeah, I think this one continues. Raiders, Cowboys, like we said, 7.5, depending where you get it. 3 of those against the spread bounce backs include the loss to Denver, which was a 43-3 beatdown. And then a 43-3 beatdown of Atlanta. So those 2, very good. Another get-right game after an ugly 19-9 loss to the Chiefs. Kansas City's defense was significantly improved. Meanwhile, the Raiders, I don't think, have it. They've been kind of in shambles recently. Next one here. Bills are 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games against the Saints. Short road favorites again this week. -4, 4.5 at New Orleans. I think this one ends. Bills bounce back from the Jags loss with a Jets beatdown. I expect the Bills to be fiery, regain some position in the division. I know Josh Allen has looked broken, but I get the gut feeling that, you're just going to get your screwdriver and your tools and tighten up all of those loose bolts, fixing things. They'll be competitive. Last one here. Saints have hit 4 straight overs. Are we going streaking? We're going streaking. Total versus the Bills, 46.5. Gone over that number 5 times the last 7 games. Bills have been hit or miss, I know, but win or lose, their last 2 games, still over 56 points scored combined. And then all the trends are out the window for Bears-Lions, so we're not going to get into those ones. This is just going to be an ugly game. Time now to welcome in Director of Sportsbook Operations over at DraftKings, our guy Johnny Avello, who joins us every week on the program. Johnny, how you doing?
Hey, Storm, I'm doing good, thanks.
Good. Happy to hear it. And I know you're going to have a lot of fun this week with Thanksgiving games galore in all sports, it feels like. What is the handle like for that Lions Bears games that I just talked about? Because it is going to be an ugly game, but it's still the NFL, right? So people are going to get in on it.
This is all true. There's three games, of course. The first one is 9:30. That's us on the West Coast. That's East Coast 12:30. That will be the weakest right of the day, no question about it. The game means nothing. Means something, of course, for the Lions who'd like to get a win. It means something for the Bears because maybe their coach won't get fired. So there is some implications there for other things besides playoffs. The other two games, the Raiders and the Cowboys, that should be a tremendous right. I would think they're going to bet the line is now up to 7.5 from 7. So we're certainly seeing some early Cowboy money, and that may continue. But the Cowboys should be involved in teasers and money line bets, whereas the Raiders, I believe, on our network will take some straight money line bets. People are going to be looking to get plus 260, 270 and take a shot with, making a nice payday. And of course, the last game is the Bills and Saints. That game is now shot up to 6, and that two teams that are certainly in the playoff hunt. And I would think that game's going to be one of the bigger rights of the night. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Stormy.
No, not bad at all. How have the public typically done in the Thanksgiving games? I know that Thursdays in general tend to be pretty tough to bet historically, but what about Thanksgiving? We have 3 Thursday games.
I've had my head handed to me on Thanksgiving at times. If all the sides get there, or if the Cowboys get there and the Bills get there, and I don't know if it makes a difference in the first one. Let's call it the Bears. It could be an ugly day for the books, but the books need a little bit of a mix. They need one of those dogs to win in those that 1:30 or that 5:20 game. But I've had tremendous Thanksgivings, and I've been stuffed, so to speak.
Okay, I gotcha. As we look ahead to Sunday, real quickly, we've got some news just within the hour a little bit ago that for Jets Texans, it looks like Joe Flacco as well as Mike White are both going to be out in COVID-19 protocol. Fortunately, Zach Wilson is good to go. It appears back from that PCL strain, but curious what that does for you guys at the books and your numbers with Jets at Houston this week. I know it was minus 2.5.
Yeah, really not a whole lot.
Okay.
This is when you look at I think this slate, first of all, this NFL Sunday slate is an excellent slate. When you look in a little bit deeper, there's some really good competitive games and games that are meaningful. That game is not. So that game will probably be the least amount of money written on it, but nevertheless, it is an NFL game. It's going to get lost in the shuffle at the 10 o'clocks. If it was an isolated game, I guess you'd be forced to bet it. But this game, I think, might be one of the lowest handles of the year of an NFL game.
Oh, I love it, though. You're like, Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco, whoever it is, we don't care. It's going to be a game. Just hopefully Zach Wilson doesn't get injured because Josh Johnson, now the only available quarterback in that room, it appears as of now. In college football action, there's also a number of college games on the slate for Thanksgiving to help kick off rivalry. Oh my gosh, I can never say it. Rivalry week. Oh my gosh, that is a mouthful. I can't get
rivalry. Good job.
I can't.
Good job,
I don't think I should host a show if I can't say this anymore. But do you expect to get much action on those Thursday games, or is everybody invested in the NFL?
The Thursday game, the first game, Mississippi State. I think that's a game that'll write some business. Fresno, San Jose State, not so sure on that one. Then the Friday games, there's a couple of decent ones in there. The K-State Texas game might be okay. Nebraska Iowa might be okay. It's not a tremendous slate certainly for the Fridays, but Saturday. About kicking off the day with a couple of 10-1 teams. I think that might be the biggest handle of the Saturday slates. Now, with that being said, that's a 9 o'clock game on the West Coast. If that was positioned more in around the 4:30 area, that could be one of the biggest rights of a college football game this year. I still think it's going to do extremely well.
So let's get it, like, who is getting more of the money in Ohio State, Michigan? Obviously, Ohio State just had a dominating, just clobbering win the other day against Michigan State. Are they getting bet hard again here, or are people thinking, hey, maybe Harbaugh and Michigan are going to do it? Maybe this is the year.
They are dominating right now, but remember, there's only probably 10% of the money in. By the time we get to Saturday, I would expect that I can't see this line going much higher than an 8, possibly an 8.5. But I also would expect that there's going to be customers out there taking a shot with Michigan on the money line, because it's probably Michigan win or Michigan not in the picture at all. So I think that's the way this game will get back.
Would be a massive win if they could get over that hump. Two other just marquee big playoff picture type games with implications: Alabama, Auburn, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. I know you said it's still early, only about 10% of the bets coming in, but who's getting the edge from the public in those two?
Yeah, the Alabama Auburn, you wouldn't think you would see a game between these two with a spread of 19.5, but that's where it is. We opened 18.5 at the time. I thought maybe we're a little high on this, but we are not. As this thing continues to head, is Alabama even a stronger choice? In the Oklahoma Oak State game, obviously Oklahoma is not going to be competing in the Final Four for college football, but Oak State could be if they win this game, continue to run the table because of this game and maybe some strength of schedule. I looked at their how they get in. They'd have to leapfrog a Notre Dame, and can that happen? I guess it can. But this game has been bet Oak State so far. We actually opened Oklahoma 1. We are up to Oak State 3.5. So it's been Oak State money as of now.
Really great stuff, Johnny. Appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome, Stormy.
That's Johnny Avello over at DraftKings. And, of course, the college football playoff newest edition of the rankings will come out later today, just a little bit after our show closes out. On the other side of the break, Adam Kramer joins the show talking more rivalry week. I can say it, guys. I got it. I can do it.
This episode is brought to you by Whole Foods. Think Whole Foods Market for lunch and dinner, because getting your freshly prepared favorites is easier than ever. You can order for delivery or in-store pickup with the Whole Foods Market app. Get hot soups, sandwiches, melty pizza with your favorite toppings, even sushi. Hungry yet? Just download the Whole Foods Market app, go to the order tab, and place your order now. Available on iOS only, in select stores only.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again.
So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to My Guys in the Desert with Stormy Bonantoni on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrapping things up here on My Guys in the Desert, Stormy Bonantoni with you live from Las Vegas at Circus Sportsbook, and we're going to close things out talking all things college football, starting with my hidden gems. Last week we went 1-1, 4-2 since we started the segment, just picking some college football games that maybe aren't the sexiest of the matchups, not everybody's getting in on, but that we really like. And my diamond in the rough, I guess you could say, this week is going to be Washington State -1 at Washington in the Apple Cup. I'm not using that R word week. It's Mortal Enemies week from here on out on My Guys in the Desert. Anyways, Washington historically, I know, has owned this series, and most people betting the game appear to be a little bit hesitant seeing Washington State as a favorite in it. But after seeing them live against Oregon a couple weeks ago, they are significantly better than they were when they started the season 1-3. And over their last 7 games, 5-2 since that start, and that started before Nick Rolovich got fired. Ever since Jake Dickert's taken over, they have just been very dialed in. Even in their losses, they have looked good. Meanwhile, Washington's looked pretty stunned since the firing of Jimmy Lake. Rough performance against Colorado, losers of 3 straight. I think they make it 4. Also, total has some intrigue here at 43.5, but I'd hold off to bet that until there's a little bit of a clearer view on the weather report. Things can get a little dicey out there. Second one, my alma mater, San Diego State, +3 against Boise State. Aztecs love to play a close game. We know that at this point. They also tend to play up or down to their level of competition, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But in this case, with a short spread, as a dog, it's a very good thing, especially considering at the rate they've been winning, 10-1 on the year. Their lone loss is to Fresno State, who Boise crushed this year. And I think that combined with Boise's brand is a big reason why the number is what it is. Boise, meanwhile, also lost to Air Force and Nevada, which are 2 teams that San Diego State beat this year. So I'm throwing those kind of like head-to-head type of a scenario, same opponents out of the door. Another thing that's a little bit blown out of proportion for me is that San Diego State's only covered 5 of their 11 games this year. So that looks bad on paper, but as dogs of 2.5 points or more, they're 2 of 3 against the spread. These teams do not like each other. 2 of the best defenses in the country, only allowing roughly 17, 19 points per game. I think they keep it close, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if San Diego State wins an 11th game. So those are my 2. Washington State -1, San Diego State +3. Time to bring in VSiN's own Adam Kramer, also of Bleacher Report and the No Punts Allowed podcast. Give him a follow on Twitter at Kegs and Eggs. Adam, I love that on your weekly report that you do for VSiN.com, it's always pretty food related. You've got the appetizer, the buffet of your college football games. But this week, you actually added in a food take for Thanksgiving. What's your Turkey Day take?
I am so happy you brought this up because it's very important. Fry your turkeys. You deserve it. Your party, your guests deserve it. Everyone needs to experience fried turkey. Smoked turkey, very good as well. I'm very much okay with it. But since I started frying my turkey about 10 years ago, you'll never go back. And I fry up a couple. We have a nice gathering this year. I've got the brine. Everything is ready to go. Like, it's time. So fry those birds out there.
You're going to be so disappointed. I have actually never fried or smoked a turkey before in my life.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, this is great, though, because when you do experience it for the first time, you'll say, I know what this lunatic was talking about, and now I only want to eat fried turkey. So this is my favorite holiday because you've got great football, and this week in college football, of course, with all the rivalries that you were talking about, this is the best. And Thanksgiving, of course, is kind of the carryover with it. I hope everybody has a wonderful time eating whatever turkey, however they want to eat it, because it's the best couple days of the year.
Yeah, no question. I love that though, that you're dropping knowledge not only on the games, but on the food as well, which I always appreciate. Which, let's get into some of those games, though, because one of the ones that I just referenced, actually, Washington State, was something that you had on your list as well. You side with me there with the Cougs a little bit?
I do. This line, I feel like we're going to have company, though. Doesn't it feel like it? Okay. And this game always produces some really weird outcomes. I just feel when you look at the way Washington has played, you've got like one team that's trying to figure out exactly who's going to be the coach and what their future is. And you have another team that's going to play for their interim coach to get that gig full time. Like, that's pretty powerful when you look at how Washington State has played. I just think generally, given all Washington State has gone through to get to this point, it's one of the more miraculous seasons that we're not talking about. I think they're pretty good. I think they're solid defensively. Yes, I'm kind of with you there. I lean toward Washington State.
Yeah, when I talked to Jake Dickert a couple weeks ago, he said, I'm not an interim coach, I'm an interviewing coach. And I liked that mentality for sure. Washington State's been doing really well. The marquee game, no questions asked, coming up this week, Ohio State, Michigan. And we talked to Johnny Avello about it a little bit ago at DraftKings. He said even with just the limited bets that have been placed so far early in the week, Ohio State's getting the most of that money. Is that what you see, or do you think Michigan has a chance?
I think Michigan has a chance, but I'm hesitant to actually bet Michigan right now. I'm going to see where this line goes. Obviously opened around, 7 up to 8. There's 8.5s out there that may keep going the way people are betting this. Actually, the angle that I kind of like is the under at 64. Now, Ohio State was superb. Stroud was incredible. He could have thrown for 1,000 yards in that game if they if they allowed them to. Like, it was that good, the offensive playmakers, that dynamic. But let's go back a couple weeks. Ohio State plays at Nebraska. Nebraska is the thing, which is not a compliment this year. But defensively, Nebraska was up for it. Stroud looked a little shook at times, and Nebraska made a game of it. I think this game can go under. I think Michigan's defense is really good. I think they're going to sit on the football for as much and as long as they possibly can, which is the wise strategy. But maybe Ohio State is just reaching this point of offensive domination, and Michigan doesn't have a good counter for that. But I do think the style of play will be less. They're going to have the ball. Michigan will be able to push the ball and run the ball, I believe. And if that's the case, I do like under 64 in this. It's a tough betting game because I get it. People are going to be all over Ohio State, and it's hard to argue with what we've seen. But on the road against a really tough team, we'll have to wait and see. God, Jim Harbaugh could use this game.
And
that has nothing to do with betting. It's just he has to slay this dragon at some point. It just does not necessarily feel like this is the year to do it.
The biggest knock against Harbaugh year in and year out. Oh, but you can't beat Ohio State. Can't beat Ohio State. It's a toughie. I also read in your handy-dandy article here, you think Oklahoma State is one of the most underrated rivalries in the sport of college football. Oklahoma State laying 3.5 at home. I think you're right. I think that is kind of an underrated rivalry. It doesn't get enough attention.
Yeah, it's really one-sided, right? And that's kind of why. Like, Oklahoma has won this thing a lot. Oklahoma State has won this game twice since 2003. I really like Oklahoma State here. You know, Oklahoma last week threw for less than 100 yards against Iowa State. It's actually quite amazing when you look at that, that they won that game. Of course, Iowa State had a lot to do with that. The more I look at the way Oklahoma State's defense has played, if they can just muster off enough offense. And look, this crowd is going to be nuts. We may not get this rivalry depending on when Oklahoma moves to the SEC. And, you know, the getting these out-of-conference games, because it's going to be an out-of-conference game lined up, I think Oklahoma State is going to put everything into this game possible. And, yeah, look, they've also played their way into the playoff discussion. So there's a ton riding here. I just think the way that defense sets up, which is now the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the country, tied with A&M, which is wild when you consider how good A&M has been. I really like Oklahoma State in this spot.
Well, a team that unfortunately played their way out of the college football playoff standings is, of course, the Oregon Ducks after just getting walloped by Utah the way they did last week. Their big rival, of course, year in and year out, Oregon State, who last year, Tristan Gebbia gets hurt in the fourth quarter. Chance Nolan, first snap of his collegiate career with Oregon State, punches in the 1-yard touchdown in the pouring, soaking rain to win. And they're hungry again this year. This group of seniors went undefeated at home for the first time ever. They're bowl eligible for the first time since 2013. Do you think that they'll be equally as hungry against the Ducks?
I like Oregon in this spot. Now, they're a fun team. Oregon State is a really fun team. We saw it last year. What a finish. And we've seen it this year with the way defensively I thought they were superb against Arizona State, which is kind of fallen apart. But this is still a team trying to figure itself out. They lost to Colorado not terribly long ago. You know, they lost to Cal, and both of those games were on the road, right? So I think when you have a team like this that's still getting their footing under them, I think Oregon is still really good. We liked Utah. We talked about it. I thought Utah at home it was going to be a problem. I didn't think it'd be as lopsided as it was. I wish I had more on Utah last week. I think Oregon bounces back. I think they get the win at home. I think they cover the touchdown spread.
That was such a frustrating game. I was actually working the Oregon State game while surrounded by a bunch of Oregon people that were watching that game on set. Very, very frustrated and emotional. But very interesting game nonetheless. If you had one more pick to make in the next 30 seconds here, what would it be?
There's a few, but I kind of like Boise State. I'm going to counter you. I think Boise State has played a lot better. San Diego State, you're right, has played down to the competition. I think that's a really interesting spot for Boise State and LSU.
Okay.
Coach O's last ride. Tigers get the win in that one.
I like that one too. But listen, Adam, we all know what happened last time you bet against San Diego State. Just saying.
Not good.
Thanks, Adam. That's Adam Kramer. Make sure you check out A Bettor's Guide to College Football Week 13. That's going to do it for My Guys in the Desert. Thanks for joining us.
want to get back to kissing the cheeks of my grandbabies, making Sunday dinner with a house full of family and lots of laughs.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the very first step that let us get back to what we miss most. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I wait? Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.